All right, people. All right, beautiful people. My name is Jason. I'm your host from the Brand Identity Design Business Podcast. I have some interesting news which I want to give you. The six-part mini series is a huge success. A lot of downloads. A lot of people who are actually listening to it, and we're going to be continuing this for another two episodes, including today's would be part 4. And this is this six-part mini series called as the branding fuckery. I'm not from Germany. I am from India. A lot of people misunderstand my accent thinking I'm German. I'm not. The aim of this series is to actually deep dive into the world of branding, challenging conventional notions, and uncovering the secret to creation of an authentic, impactful personal brand. I do this with my awesome guest, Phyllis Williams-Strawder, and her book named Branding, Boundaries, and Bullshit. So we covered a lot of core principles of personal branding, the initial chapters. Now, this week, we're getting into chapter 2. The chapter 2 speaks about boundaries. We'll delve into the concept of brand ego, the vital importance of establishing clear boundaries in personal branding. We closely examine how communication goes both ways, the significance of an audience of the personal brand, strategies for marketing maximum attraction, and the reason why positioning has you sitting and pretty. There are a lot of maybe jargons here or internal terms which Phyllis specifically use. We would get into the details and dissect all of these things one at a time. I want to make a few announcements. First of all, season 5 waitlist is actually on. I already have my bookings filled till April of next year. If you are interested in being a guest, please reach out to me. You are welcome to join the waitlist. I'll help you with the process on how to become a guest on my show. And not only that, thanks to LinkedIn once again for accepting my request to have the podcasting category as a part of LinkedIn. It was initially not available. I also see a lot of people becoming the top podcasting voices as well, recently been confirmed by LinkedIn. So I think I would be getting that badge very soon. Okay, so thank you, LinkedIn, for that. The third thing which I want to say is that I will encourage all my listeners to leave a review if you like my show and what we are doing with my podcast, not on any of your favorite apps. Instead, do it actually on LinkedIn. That's going to help me get more interesting guests, create something a lot more tangible, stuff like that. You will understand why once you get into podcasting. You will understand the difference why. So let's actually deep dive into this topic. So last week we had interesting questions we had about boundaries, brand ego. Today I'm going to be dissecting boundaries a little lot more further. Phyllis, first of all, Phyllis, welcome to the Brand Identity Design Podcast. Let's have some applause. Let's have some gangster beat just to welcome Phyllis to the show. Phyllis, yo,
Thank you,
Phyllis,
gangster.
welcome, welcome. All right, all right. So Phyllis, so
I
as you know,
love it. I
Phyllis is a
love it.
brand strategist, my good friend, and she has a lot of knowledge about branding. Her ways are unconventional, not something which people traditionally would follow. It's not about putting pretty pictures of yours on social media. It's about real stuff. So let's dissect and deep dive into this right away. All right. So my question to you, Phyllis, is that it's about boundaries. So as discussed in your book, okay, I want to understand the role of personal branding and the significance of maintaining clear boundaries in your personal and professional life. And you describe this a lot in your book. Would you mind helping my listeners understand why there has to be a distinction or clear boundaries between one another? Why is that necessary?
You know what? It's actually for you, the person, more than it is for your business or the people in your audience. Because a lot of times when we're talking about boundaries, we cross them without even knowing it. We put so much of ourselves into building our business. We say we are the business and we don't draw that boundary. It becomes harder and harder to turn off certain things about your business and your brand that keep you caught up in the day to day, the shit that keeps you up at night worrying about, am I going to get a new client? Where are my leads coming from? How am I going to increase revenue? And so if you don't create those boundaries of, you know what, this is where this shit stops. This is going no further than this particular place, then it's a level of crazy that you do not want to inflict on yourself. Now, not everybody has a job to support their business, but if you have the wherewithal and you have the finances to support your business and the runway for your business, then take advantage of that to the best of your ability. One of the things, I'm in California right now and I'm taking care of my aunt, and she's had two different nurses here since I've been here. One was here yesterday, and I'm not going to mention her name, but she started talking about, she's an older woman and she's been doing home health care for a while and so forth. And the way my mind works, and I'm like, okay, chick, you need to start training and consulting because your body is telling you you need to go sit your ass down somewhere. So how can we turn this into a business? And all of it, I'm telling you, my mind started going there, and it's like, you know what, we can turn this into something within a year and go make your money. Now, my new sweetheart that was here today, she's talking about moving to Texas, and she wants to be a notary. Okay, let's start branding for the notary. Why are you waiting to do this thing? And the thing about it, and I'm saying this because part of the boundaries of that, it's like, you know what, if you understand where you want to go within the business that you're building, then it's easier to create those boundaries now. And because people want to get all up in your business. And I'm talking about your personal business. They care more about finding out what you're doing behind closed doors than what you're doing in your business. And if you don't set the boundaries for that and make it clear, like, you know what, I will share my family with you to this degree because I only want you to know this much about my partner, then make sure that you set that boundary and you make it clear. Y'all, let me tell you something what my husband did today. Y'all, let me tell you how my kid is getting on my nerves. Why is that even relevant to your business? But if there's some relevance there, it's like, you know what? Helping my husband with his branding of being the hospitable box is a challenge. If he was my client, I would have to fire him, really, even if he paid me. That's a relevant conversation about my husband as the hospitable box, but not as Neil, the dude that been rocking with me for the last 20 years. If you don't understand the boundaries that you want for your business, if you don't know what line you will not cross, you will cross it unintentionally. And once you do that, you can't take it back because you've exposed the level of yourself that you weren't prepared to answer questions about. Because like I said, you can be as professional as you want to be, but soon as you crack the door open for something that is intimately personal, people are like, well, let's talk about that. Why? That has nothing to do with, well, you kind of said, and now you've opened the door. So understanding that my personal brand is not my personal life, that there are boundaries to this thing. No, we will not be talking about this. Then you're gonna have to get the flack about, you know what, she's trying to hide things. She's not sure. How is it your fucking business? What is personal to me? If you don't make that clear, and I don't care if you give your personal brand a name or not. I've named mine. Y'all know it's the Ghetto Country Grandmother. Even if you don't give it a name, the things that you have to make clear, just like y'all know I don't talk about my family, but this is relevant to my business. Make it clear that I'm not going to talk about my family unless it's relevant. I'm not going to talk about my past unless it's relevant. I'm not going to talk about the hardship I had today unless it's relevant. One of the posts that I did today was about, you know what, shit got real when I had my restaurant to the point of real foreclosure staring me down the barrel of a notice. But we survived that. And it had to come from a different place. That was something that I was willing to share because it was relevant to what I was posting. The boundaries that you want for yourself, and this is where it comes from, it has to be for you first. The whole thing behind my book is put you first. Once you've finished putting yourself first, as far as your personal brand is concerned, now you can put the audience first. But if you haven't fixed your own shit in your own house first, then those people will run you crazy. And you will be running to them for everything. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Sweetie, you're the expert. You're the person with the education. You're the person with the experience. You give them what you have. If you gain something new that you want to share, then again, you're able to increase your boundary. But the thing about keeping your personal life personal, you are owed that. You're entitled to that. If you don't let people know that, then you know what? You're liable to get questions about any and everything. And if you do not want to answer those questions, then don't open that door. It goes back to, you know what? Don't start none, won't be none. But sometimes we start talking about shit. I actually did this at a keynote. I started opening my stuff about my mouth about some petty shit. And I had to say, "Ooh, y'all, I was about to get petty. That is not a part of my personal brand. Let me rein it in." I actually said that on stage during a keynote because I did not want it to be part of my personal brand. So you get to correct yourself. You get to roll things back unless you just totally open the door. Understand the boundaries. Phyllis is the petty bitch. Ghetto Country Grandmother is the empathic bitch. I have to know the difference first before I can make sure that it's clear to everyone else the difference. Does that answer the question, Jason?
Absolutely.
Damn!
Y'all gonna hear that playing a lot today.
All right, anybody in the audience who are listening to us live, guess this specific sound effect which I played. If you can tell me the name of the movie, that would be incredible. I'll have you as a guest on my show immediately without doing any filtering. All right, I'm gonna play the effect once again. Okay, tell me just the name of this movie. It has
You got to
Ice
put it in
Cube
the
in it.
comments.
Yeah, just put it on the comments. That would be awesome. Okay, I'm gonna play it once again.
Damn!
All right, moving on. Moving on. I totally agree with a lot of things which you said. Personal brand is not your personal life. You need to have that clear distinction. You need to know stuff
Aaliyah
like.
said, "I got it. I got it."
All right, all right, all right. Let me ask you my next question about when I was
Okay.
actually reading your book about, you highlighted a lot of things about the idea of brand image and brand identity. So,
Mm-hmm.
could you help us understand how these concepts differ from one another and how they can actually influence a success of your brand which you're trying to create?
No problem. What I learned when I first started studying brand strategy is that there's a side of you. The brand identity is what you kind of what you think of yourself when it's based on logos, voice, and all that kind of stuff. Brand image is how you're perceived. That shit did not sit well with me, and I saw it everywhere. Y'all, them little Gantt charts or whatever it is. Everybody had that same fucking image of brand identity, where brand identity and brand image cross. I've separated those two and I put in brand ego. But brand identity, how we all identify, is a thing. We see people doing it with every aspect of their life. So when we talk about it from a personal brand perspective, this goes back to code stage. How we develop that code of this is how I identify, that's where the personal brand sits. But it has to make sure that it's aligned with the business brand. A lot of people don't have alignment between their business and their personal brand. They just figure I can open my mouth and say whatever I want to. And it doesn't matter if it makes sense and it's aligned with the business. But if you identify in such a way within your business and within your brand, then that identity stays true to that thing. You don't have to bring every nook and cranny of your crazy out here for everybody to see. I'm fine with my crazy being on the front porch with a drink. That's fine, personal or business wise. But the separation, this one got her own porch and this one got her own porch. Now, if you come sit on this porch, oh, we might do a little gossiping. We're gonna be petty as hell. There's gonna be some sarcasm. I might even hurt your feelings a little bit and have to apologize. But that's on that porch over there. Because I identify as a friend on this porch. But on this side, I identify as the brand mother. And certain things that I've said about the brand mother, I stay true to. When it comes to brand image, how I perceive image, because image in itself, the definition of it, sweetie, there's an image there. Whether you're looking in a mirror, where you're taking a picture, that is an image. That is a reflection of something. It has nothing to do with how you're perceived. When you walk out the house and you know you the best thing walking, sweetie, how people perceive you, whether they perceive you as stuck up, as gorgeous, as oh, your skirt is too short, you got too much cleavage, your pants too tight, their perception has nothing to do with the image that you stepped out into. Because the thing that you get to control with the image, because this is how you play the game. This is your personality, your language, your archetype, and the story that you tell. That is what brand image is, or that's how I formulated in my framework. And so that image that I project when I come out has nothing to do. I don't give a fuck what you perceived. This is the image that I'm projecting. This is the image that I'm putting out into the world. Now, if you get it wrong, then baby, come ask me. Let me correct you. And I might do that nicely or not so nicely. Depends on what side of the Brandma we woke up on today. But it's still the image that I project. If you have a certain way that you come out and you're doing a keynote, the image that you project is the one that you want to make sure everyone sees. If they don't see it, then something is getting lost in translation. Something's getting lost in how you dress it up, how you come across with the messaging, the language that you use, the stories that you tell, the personality that you put out here. Something's getting lost in translation. And so that image that you're trying to project, you thought you would put all the bling in the world on it. And that's going to say, you know what, I'm rich, I'm this, I'm the shit. That is not the image that you projected. So they're not getting it. Because like I said, we can take it all the way back to communication. And that's why all of this is tied together and why all of it goes together. So the brand identity and the brand image, there has to be something in between, which is the brand ego. So if you understand that you're projecting something like Jay down there, I think that's my sweetheart Jay, that usually he's part of the Fab Five. Give me a thumbs up if I'm right, Jay. He might not be close to his stuff. But if that's that Jay, when he's doing his stuff with someone else, then he has his Fab Five. That's the image he wants to project, that he's part of that family of Fam Five. And so when you're doing that, when we first got out here and we started doing everything, I'm gonna say me, Kezia, and Andres. There was an image that we projected when we had our badges because we wanted everybody to know that we were part of the pro group. We wanted them to know that we were part of the future. So we wore that badge. That was the image that we wanted to project. We're part of this great group of people that have this badge and you don't have it. So you kind of missing out. That's the image that we want to project. That's the narrative. Thank you, sweetheart. I see you, Jay. That's the image we wanted to project. It didn't matter what your perception was. But we had a perception about people that we knew weren't part of the group that stole the badge and put it on their photo. We knew who those people were because we knew who they were. They're trying to project the image that they're part of the in crowd. We don't know you like that, baby. You're not part of this. But they wanted to project an image of being part of this. They want to be connected to Chris because everybody like, oh, Chris. I always say that to him. He has his fan club. And so his fan club wants to be connected. But when you talk, like I say, because we're talking about personal brands and the brand image of a personal brand, what you project into the world is how you want to be seen. I can make an assumption based on all of the photos that I'm looking at right now on your profile. Is that the image that you want to put out there? What I perceive it as, it doesn't matter. But if it's not the perception that you want, then where's the disconnect? Where are we losing you? Because I said I identified this, but I'm projecting that, something's lost in translation. Making sure that you know which side is which, that your identity is projected in the image that you put out into the world, it needs to be alignment. And it still needs to be in alignment with the business brand. Because if you wilding out over here, but your business brand is conservative as hell, again, something's lost in translation. And because we know that branding is about consistency and showing up and always staying on point so that people are comfortable, like they know what to expect from us, they accept and respect our reputation, then there has to be alignment all up and through. Not just from the personal brand to the business brand, but also between the image that you project. If I had a different image on my website than I do when I'm out here smoking my cigars and doing my things with my fedora on my head, there will be misalignment. So the image is all up to what you project out into the world and making sure that the narrative goes with what you're trying to put out. If you dorky as hell and you own that dorkiness, bring it to the story. This is how you play the game. Use the language of some dorky ass, make up your own language kind of shit and own it. It is not about perception because somebody's going to say, what the fuck? Let them say what the fuck because that is not your audience anyway. It does not matter what their perception is because my folks get it. They know where I'm coming from. They know what this image is about. So I'm gonna cut that off because that's turning into a long ass sermon.
I really dig that. I appreciate you sharing all of that. And
No
guys,
problem.
and I see I think Cass did reply to my question which we had asked about that sound effect.
I think
Cass,
Aaliyah did too. Is
Olivia did too. What did Olivia
no,
say?
not Olivia. Aaliyah. I'm
Aliyah.
pronouncing it Aaliyah. I'm hoping because she's the one that put her hand up real quick.
Ah, we will have
I
Q and
think she
A.
did.
We'll have Q&A shortly. But so I'm
There
gonna
you
go
go.
with the first entry. So I think Cass replied back saying it's from the movie Rush Hour. No,
Nope.
it's not. It's not.
Nope.
No. Okay. So what was your response, which you got, Phyllis?
Oh, I don't know. Leah put her hand up. I don't know if she put it in the comments. You got to go put it in the
Yeah, just
comments,
send me a
Aaliyah.
DM, Aliyah.
Hurry up. Hurry up.
Okay, okay. Let's bring her up. Let's
So,
hear from her.
she
We
put
are
her
gonna,
hand up.
yeah, we're gonna make an exception. Let's bring her up. We will publicly
Yeah, we're gonna put her
humiliate
up
you.
and then put her back down.
Aliyah, what's the answer? Okay. 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 So people who just joined, I see Rose who just joined. Okay, just for you, I'm gonna play the sound effect again, and just tell me which movie this specific line is from. Okay, and it's a famous movie, and it's an old movie. Okay.
Damn!
All right. So people who know the answer, just DM me. Okay. So Aliyah, go ahead. Which movie is this?
Friday.
All right. We'll park that. We'll park that. Let's hear from
But
Rose. We'll park
but
that.
it don't have a comment section for me to comment in, so I don't have to raise my hand.
And that's what I said. Aaliyah, I saw you first, baby. Trust and believe. I saw you first.
All right. What about Rose? Okay, Rose. How about you? Which movie?
This is definitely. Can you hear me? Yeah, this is definitely from Rush Hour.
All right,
It
all
is so
right.
nice.
Boo, boo. That's boo. That's not the case. That's not from the movie Rush Hour. Cass
What?
and Rose,
No.
you guys
Are
suck.
you serious?
Yeah.
Yes.
And
That is
Aliyah,
from
okay. So
Friday.
Aliyah actually, said it right. It's from the movie Friday. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and Ice Cube and who was the name of the other actor? Chris Tucker, right? Chris
Chris
Tucker.
Tucker.
Chris Tucker. They were both
Before
sitting.
he
Yep.
was replaced.
Yes. Yes. Sitting on the porch smoking a joint. Somebody I couldn't remember if it was a big booty girl or if somebody got stopped and got knocked the fuck out. So I couldn't remember.
But to be fair, Chris Tucker does the damn thing in Rush Hour as well. So if you look at the Rush Hour series, he does a couple of damn in those ones as well. So.
That's true. That's
Okay,
true.
so
Yeah.
Phyllis, what is that in relation to the image that he's putting out for his brand? Is which one is that? Because he does do it quite often throughout different acting parts. So what is that more related to?
Let's dissect the movie. Let's dissect the movie Friday and let's
Well,
see.
I was
That's a
trying
good
to bring
question.
And
I was
Rush.
trying to bring it on into what we was already talking about because some people you can explain it clearly and they won't get it. And so I was trying to see how this comment relates to brand identity. Was it part of his identity that he's projecting, or is it just for business purposes?
You're right. It does seem like consistent with what he does at different movies.
I'm waiting for the expert to answer. Apparently, she's on. I don't know if she lost. Phyllis, did you lose the connection like mine? I think so.
Tell me I didn't.
Yeah, no. Did you hear the question? Did you hear the question? Okay, you did. Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, I was just saying that with that particular thing, that's a personal style. It's just like one of the things I've been saying for years is 10 toes down. And I actually picked that up from Ebony Green. But some people have a personal style. And if your personal style becomes part of your brand identity and your brand image, then that's what you keep it to. But because he does it outside of movies and different things like that, it's a personal style for him. And so if that, hopefully that makes sense. There are certain parts of your vernacular that you bring within your brand, your personal brand, and that's okay. But if you're going to bring it, it now becomes a thing for your personal brand. And that's how people will learn to identify you. It becomes part of the language. If you don't know what your language is, and like I said, we're going to get into that, I think, a little later. But if you know what your language is, and you know these are common things that you say, and these are things that I always talk about, it's like, if you say this a lot, then bring it to the brand, make it part of the brand, and then it becomes relatable because you're going to say it in and out of whatever this is. You can't not say it because it's just part of your personality. So owning that part or that phrase, sweetie, it's a whole ass thing. I say that in and out of my brand identity. I always say it's a whole ass thing, whether I'm talking about through my brand or whether I'm just talking to somebody on the streets. So, but people recognize it when I say it within this context. I always talk about people's gift, talents, and abilities when I'm talking business and branding. I don't talk about that in my personal life. But gift, talent, and ability, it's like, sweetie, how we gonna monetize this shit? So there's certain things that are part of your language that become part of your personal brand. And if you understand what those things are, now you're able to say, you know what, this is the language we speak in this house. And your clients or your audience, they will start to repeat this. And once they start, it becomes part of the lexicon. And you get to own it. And I don't care who else in the world is saying it. Anybody that's true to you, because they hear from you all the time, they're gonna say, "Oh, she stole that from my girl. She heard her say that once." So now everybody identifies you with it. It's just like, you know what? Kleenex is a thing. Kleenex is a brand. And I don't care what kind of cheap ass tissue you buy, everybody will call it a Kleenex. Because Kleenex was first on the scene to make tissue a thing. And so it does not matter who else came on the scene after. I don't care what you make, it is a fucking Kleenex. So you get to be that first person that everybody brings to mind when you say that thing. So the fact that y'all saw two different movies with him saying damn, everybody now relates that to Chris Tucker. Because even though it's a part of his personality, he brought part of his personality to the movies that he created. So it's part of his language. Does that help? Is that okay definition, Aaliyah?
Yes, ma'am.
There you go.
Damn! Now I'm gonna have to find my little catchphrase. I swear, now
Find your catchphrase.
I'm gonna have to find me a catchphrase.
And that is the thing. If there's something, like I say, your friends will tell you, you say that shit all the time. If it's something that you say all the time and you can find a way to align it with your brand, then you will become known for that thing. Because one of the things I even heard Chris said, he started saying, when I tell people trust and believe, Chris now says trust and believe. Sounds a little different coming from him, but he now says it because he's heard me say it before when we've had conversations. And so there's certain things that people will just catch on to that stop laughing that people will catch on to that you constantly say. Like I said, I didn't start saying 10 toes down till I heard Ebony say 10 toes down, and I've been hanging on it ever since. There's some, like, even Cass has her thing that she says. I don't even know, Cass, do you have one? Give me a thumbs up if you got something. Because I don't, Cass is one of my calm brand babies. She does not cuss unless she is really pissed off. And I call it a British thing, but it just might be a Cass thing. But there's certain things that you're going to find that you say on a consistent basis. And because it's so easy, when I talk about dedication, when we go back to the brand identity and I talk about dedication, there's certain phrases that you're dedicated to because they just fall out of your mouth. So why not make them part of the personal brand? There's certain things that you do when we get to snapping that finger. If that's a thing that you do, then make it part of, because it's as easy as breathing, and that's what dedication is. And I know we're getting off topic, but it goes back to the brand image and the brand identity. Your brand identity is over here doing this thing, but the image you project with the language that you use, it is something that is unique to you. And this is why I talk about putting you first. Whatever that thing is that falls out of your mouth, whatever that thing is that make you feel like you the best shit walking, whether it's a hat, it could be a bra, it could be a pair of shoes, it could be a eyeglasses, I wear glasses because instead of wearing eye makeup because it's my thing.
Okay, so that's like Beyonce saying she in her lemonade era, and everybody's just been copying it ever since.
There you go.
Turn, turning lemons into lemonade. Okay.
And it's her whole thing was Sasha Fierce. We all know that's where Sasha Fierce came from. And one of the things, Jason, that you had asked me about before, and I thought about that I always forget about Mr. Beast. Mr. Beast is a personal brand. I don't even know dude's real name. But Mr. Beast has created this image that he puts out into the world that everybody can identify. Well, not everybody. So I'm exaggerating when I use everybody, but that a lot of people can identify with. They like what he's about. But we don't know what dude is like at home because when we see him, most of his shit is about his business and he's about his money, even though he's not a money hungry type dude. So the brand identity that he's adopted for Mr. Beast, trust and believe, there's a lot of personal shit in there. But you cannot call him by his name and expect it to be a Mr. Beast kind of vibe. His mama will call his name. She ain't gonna call him Mr. Beast. And I promise you, the way he addresses his mother is not the way he addresses his audience. When his girlfriend calls his name, when she whisper his name, she is not saying Mr. Beast. Well, she might. I don't know what they're doing. But but when she says it, depending on how she says it, it's a whole different vibe. So when you bring a certain identity and image to a personal brand, sweethearts, you got to understand this is as easy as breathing to me. Being philanthropic is very easy for him. So the more money he makes, the more money he gives away, the more he donates, the more he does. Because he's dedicated to a certain level of giving. It's in him. So when you identify these things within your personal brand, these goes now we're getting to the boundaries of it all. You know what? I only do this shit sometimes, so I'm not bringing it to my personal brand. No, they don't need to see that side because I'm not going to be consistent with it. I'm not dedicated to this. I'm not tied to it. But the boundaries are, you know what? Because I said I was dedicated to this shit, then let's make this boundary right here. I'm not going to bring this into my personal brand world. This is not how I'm going to identify. This is not the image I'm going to project. So the boundaries that I set are based on this language. It's based on this personality. It's based on the stories. The boundaries are there for a reason. So when I communicate to an audience on the marketing that I want to do because I want to position myself a certain way, that's how you set up camp. And there are boundaries around your camp. Now, the thing about personal brands is that they get to expand. They get to grow because you are maturing as a person within your business. And as you mature, you get to have wider boundaries because you might have a bigger network. You might have a bigger influence. So, of course, your territory is going to increase. So, your boundaries are, you know what? I get to spread out. I get to do some more shit. I get to bring some more of these things. But there are certain boundaries that you just cannot cross. This tent over here, this camp right here, don't fuck with it. That is not for you. This is for my brand babies on this side. Now, this camp, that's all you, sweetheart. You can go play in this playground and we're going to have all the fun. And that's the thing. So when you set up that camp of, like I said, how you're going to communicate, what audience you're talking to, because if you don't know how to segment your audience, then you're trying to talk to all of them at the same time. And if you don't understand market segmentation, it's a thing. So if you're going to segment your market and saying, you know what, I play with you like this, but I'm going to play with you like that, then when you're talking, when you're creating content, when you're putting something out here, then you're saying, you know what, I'm talking to my cook babies today. And I can talk to y'all because you know what, I had a restaurant. I know front of house, back of house, and all this other crazy shit that we got to go through to run a restaurant. So let me talk to my foodie babies today. And so that is a segment that I can speak to. When I talk to my creatives, oh, I write. I am not a creative artistically. My words are my art. So let's talk about some creative shit today and how we're going to build this brand around this thing. I could talk about that because I'm a part of that. I can talk about being a coach and consultant because that is also something. So I can break it my audience into those three segments. And I can say, you know what, this is how we're going to play this game today. My personality, the way I play the game, the personality, the language, all of them get the same thing where that's concerned. But because I have an audience up in how I set up camp, oh, let me break off my audience because I'm not talking to y'all about this today. I still love y'all, but I need to handle my business a little different over here. So you're setting up these boundaries of segmentation. You're setting up these boundaries of, you know what? I want a wider audience. I want a bigger network. But I'm dedicated to this thing all up and through. And so when we talk about personal brand, it is not a fucking story all the time. And I get it where people want to reduce personal branding to having a founder story. But if you're trying to be attractive, and I'm not talking about physical beauty, but if you're trying to attract an audience, then what is your personal brand projecting? What is the image that you're projecting? What is the brand ego? Because, like I say, brand ego and how you set up camp, that's a thing. Because you know what? You can thump your chest and say it with your whole chest. This is what I'm about. This is how I set up my camp. This is how I'm going to communicate. This is where I'm most comfortable to give you all the value that I have. This is where I'm most comfortable. This is the audience that I'm most comfortable with. And because I'm most comfortable with them, I'm going to give them every fucking thing I got. I am going to show up. I'm going to market to them because I got mad respect for them because they get me. Because I dropped down and I played the game on my terms. This is the language. This is the personality. But I set up boundaries. Okay, Jason, I know we done got all off topic. You can rein it back in. You know you can stop me at any time.
Yeah, I want to, but it's so damn good. So I'm like, let her go on. So this is super cool. And I appreciate everybody who is listening to us. Uh, what I have realized, after doing this podcasting thing for quite some time, I don't really run after people, but I'm really interested in a selective group of individuals I want to build good connection and relationship with. So all those individuals down in the audience who know me personally, Kezia, Andreas, Jay, Cass, Sharon, Matt, Brian. I've seen you guys before, and I remember you folks, being a part of my show and regularly, participating in it, sharing. Rose, you, and Aliyah, and everyone else, who tune in regularly. So this is like my small thing which I'm trying to build, and I really value guys, and I really respect how you guys support me. I don't need a million followers. I just need a few individuals who admire, who respect, and who can learn from me. And that would make night and day difference in terms of what I want to achieve here. So thank you so much, guys, for your love and support. And along with this, Phyllis, I want to actually enter into the section of your book which speaks about communication. And
Mm-hmm.
I today you also posted this, how Ice Cube said, "I do what I do. You like it, great. You don't, go listen to somebody else. I'm sticking with my people who got stuck with me." So now in your book, you kind of elaborate on this further. You say
Mm-hmm.
that your audience just doesn't just engage with your brand because of the content you produce, because most of the people feel that way, but they connect
Mm-hmm.
because you get them and they get you. Would you mind
Yes.
speaking on this? And while you do that, I want to actually play this nice tune, just to add a little emphasis. You know how Yeah, I'm gonna pause there because I don't want to get copyright strike. All right, tell me about it. Okay, in
No
Ice Cube,
worries.
say it like how Ice Cube would say it.
I am a huge Ice Cube fan. My first boyfriend actually looked like Ice Cube. I promise you he did. But when Ice Cube said that, it's like I said, I do what I do. You like it? Great. And some people think that that's not good enough. You have to go out and you have to create all this excess shit. And I often use restaurants because restaurants with a 5-page menu does not make sense because you're trying to please everyone instead of finding that thing that you're good at. But he said, "You like it, great. You don't, listen to somebody else. You don't have to listen to me." But because we live in a trollish society, people think that they got to hurt you and tear you down and all that kind of stuff because it makes them feel good because they want to, they, what is the misery loves company kind of deal. But the thing about it is, like, I'm sticking with the people who stick with me. A lot of us don't know how to do that. We try and act like, you know what? Okay, well, I got them. I don't have to nurture them anymore. That's why I see a lot of relationships fail. You think once you have someone, you could just take them for granted. And the thing about it is, those are the people that you should be truest to. People who have actually spent money with you are the ones that, you know what, I respect. I respect them because they respected me enough to pay me. I tell people I don't give discounts to strangers. Bitch, I don't know you like that. Why are you asking me for a discount? We don't get down like that. I don't even know if I like you. Why would I offer you a discount? My other brand babies, though, that have paid me something, I don't have a problem with doing that. So rocking with the people that rocked with you first is a thing. Because like I said, he asked me the question about your audience doesn't just engage, they connect. And because you are the person behind all of the things that come to life through the personal brand that you're building, they have connected. And like I said, when we go back to the boundaries, they only connected with a portion of you. And so to be able to rock with that portion of you is everything to them. But if you disregard them and dismiss them, you are fucking with your money. Seriously. And people do not get that because they look at their clients or their customers as one and done instead of looking at the lifetime value. And a lot of you have within your business, you don't have a lifetime value framework. You have something that's kind of one and done because you don't know how to continue to nurture that to bring it back. Now with personal branding, people think, oh well, we're gonna go here, we're gonna do the strategic shit, we're gonna spend about 6 months together, and we're gonna be done. No, because if you plan to grow and scale, sweetie, you need to come back so we can make sure that your staff is on point with the brand that you're building. We need to come back and make sure that you're nurturing everyone because your business has grown. Are you still nurturing the right people? So the lifetime value of my clients could be at least 100 grand. Oh, and I'm not saying all at once. Don't get it twisted. I wish I could, but no, it ain't like that for me. But I can say the lifetime value of a client over, say, 6 or 7 years could be $100,000 because I see how they and why they need to come back to me for something. So it's understanding that if you want to continue to do this thing, you can't just produce content for the sake of producing content. You have to connect. You have to open your mouth and talk about your business. And I'm not saying, oh my God, because some folks just get out here and they elevator pitch all fucking day, and that is not marketing. That is not what that is. But when you decide to connect with your audience, when you want to share something with them that is relevant, then it makes a difference in how they decide that they're going to spend money with you. And Brian, I saw your thing about you wanted. I saw when you shared that. Don't think I didn't, sweetie. I really did. And it's that level of engagement. Brian, Cass, and nobody else is in here right now. But Brian and Cass, when I do Brandma's open house, when I let folks come behind the scenes and hang out with me, I have my cigar and my bourbon, and we just shooting the shit. Brian and Cass are there. They've been rocking with me with that for since I started. And mind you, they're not spending money at this point. Cass has done her money thing with me. But trust and believe, if she needs a session, she just pays for a one and done session. But because I continue to nurture the relationship with her, and now she's my friend. She ain't just my client, y'all. She's actually my friend now. I consider her a friend. But even as a friend, she still respects me enough to pay me, and I respect her enough to pay her. I refer clients to her. There's a thing there because we have connected. We got past the content stage and we connected. So if you're sticking with the people that are still rocking with you, that are showing up at Brandma's house, I don't care if it's the same 10 people. I know that these 10 people are going to continue to support my business. They're going to continue to say, you know what, go check out Brandma. Because we think that we have to have this mass appeal. No, we just need the right appeal to the right people. We need the people who are going to connect with us, which goes back to the boundaries, and it goes back to the how you play the game. People want to play like you. They don't necessarily want to be you, but they want to play like you. And by that, I mean they want to be able to succeed on their terms. And if you're able to give them that, then they're going to connect with you. And there's going to come a time where your relationship is a little more, it means a little more than just business and dollar signs. And you can get past that, but it's still a matter of respect. Roll me out my money. I'm never going to tell you not to pay me. You're going to pay me something to talk to me at some point. But you can't allow people to take advantage, because if you feel like they are, then you're not connected. You are being taken advantage of. You're being manipulated. You're getting conned. You're getting played. You're doing all the things. But if you have something that is connecting you, you're going to know the difference between that relationship than somebody that just had a transaction. Transactional relationships are very limited. There is no lifetime value there because they're not dedicated to anything other than themselves. And it gets to show up and it gets to hit different. I know people that I paid that I'm going to be one and done with because I just need this bit from you. I don't give a fuck about you on any level, but you have some knowledge that I need. I know who I paid to be one and done with. But then there are other people that I will rock with from, oh, what you got coming out? I will read your book. I will buy your course. And I don't even like online courses, but damn it, you are that fucking good. I want to make sure I get all the goodies from you. Those are people who are rocking with you. And those are the people that you want to continue to nurture. Those are people that you want to continue to have a relationship with that is more intimate than just a transaction. But because we have taken so many cues from corporate crazy ass motherfuckers out here, we try and copy their framework, and it is not for you as an independent business owner. Corporations are about the bottom line. There is no loyalty there. And for a founder to go back and try to figure out what his founder story is, sweetie, your founder story is like, oh, let me get you a little caught up on your feelings so you continue to support my business. But the thing about it, unless he's the owner, still a CEO, he could be fired just like everybody else. He is not aligned with the brand that he's working for. There is no connection. Now, I may like him as a person, but the brand is not aligned with what it is that this business is trying to build. So taking our cues from corporate crazy that's what made me pivot my business. Because one of the things that Cass and I connect a lot on is because we think company cultures can thrive without being toxic. We think that you need to have a level of respect for the people that work with you and move away from the people that work for you. Instead of seeing them as a salaried liability on your profit and loss statement, why don't you see them for the assets that they are? Because they could be your biggest brand supporters, but they will not fucking support you because they just came for the check because your ass is shit. There is no connection, not even internally. So how are you going to make a connection externally? A lot of us support the businesses that we support because, you know, it's convenient, it's easy, it's cheap. Starbucks is finding that shit out right now. I gave up Starbucks long ago when the whole Black Lives Matter shit jumped off. I was done with them. I ain't had nothing from them since. But now it's a whole nother issue. I peeped your game way back then. And I did not tell anybody not to buy Starbucks. That was my choice. I even sold my stock in Starbucks. I was so done with them. Okay? Because if they did it once, they'll do it again. That's why I don't give people second chances sometimes. And I'm talking about intimate relationships. But you get to own these parts. And so when you're out here and you're talking about I'm sticking with the folks who stuck with me, sweetheart, these are the people that are going to continue to support you. It's why so many businesses closed during the pandemic. They had no loyalty from the customers or clients that they had. So the clients didn't support them. They could not keep their doors open because, you know what? Let me go find somebody else that's open. There was no loyalty there. There was no connection. So they didn't feel any need to keep you open. They felt sorry for you, true enough. But that's your problem. I got to go get my hair did. It's a thing. Fuck it. I'll just go to McDonald's if I want a burger. Because throughout all of this nonsense, it's a thing. Everybody's up in arms about return to work or return to office. You let people go home and you saw they were more productive, but because corporations are losing money on rent, they're trying to, you know what, get y'all asses back in the office. And because these people they own this real estate and now it's over half empty, that is affecting their bottom line. So I don't give a fuck what the founder's story is. The only thing you care about, you know what, stockholders and stakeholders, that's all it is. But you as an independent business owner can change all of this. And as your business grows, whether you grow to a corporation or a conglomerate, the connection will always be there. And it'll be there from the inside out. Because the people that are rocking with you for a paycheck are not there just for the paycheck. I have a 16-year-old, and I'm going to make this point and I'm going to move on so Jason can get to his next question. I have a 16-year-old, and I listen to her all the time. And one of the things that these kids are struggling with, if y'all don't know, they're struggling with purpose. They don't see a purpose to shit. Because me, I did the wrong thing. I gave my daughter technology way too early, and she's addicted to it. I will own that. But she also is looking for a purpose in life. And these companies and corporations are not giving purpose to these children, so don't nobody want to go to work. They rather be TikTok streamers and be on Twitch, and they want to make their money that way. Let me sit in my space by myself and fuck all of y'all. But if you have a connection, then what does that look like? Does that change the dynamic of how we work? I don't give a fuck what AI does. We're all talking about humanizing brands, but then we bring in AI and let them do our shit for us. No. Okay, I'm gonna shut up, Jason, because yeah, it's a whole ass situation out here.
That is so
Stay
true.
connected.
That is so true. While you're actually speaking on this, and I want you to, go a bit further on that, I just want to let the audience know who are listening to us. We will be opening up the space for Q&A. So if anybody is interested in coming up on stage and asking a direct question to Phyllis, please raise your hand. I welcome you to come up. I want to say hi to Derek and Thomas, whom I see down in the audience, my good friends and followers. Thank you so much for supporting the show regularly. Welcome back, Rose, Aaliyah, and anybody else who might be interested in coming up. Feel free to join the stage. Yeah, and I wanted to finish your thought though. What you were saying about, what were you saying about? What the fuck?
I have finished my thought, but the last statement I made was about people talking about humanizing brands, but they're doing it with AI. So where's the humanity in that?
Yeah,
That
where
was
is
my
the
last.
humanity in it? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I have a lot of friends, and one of my close friend, he keeps saying that now the organizations want you to come back 5 days to work because of the same thing, because they have these big ass spaces which they have leased out or they have bought. It's empty, and they're forcing people to come. And the thing is, because we were stuck in pandemic for about an year or so, we got so accustomed to being at home and doing our shit. And you know what, actually I feel it's actually very cost saving. Like, you don't have to worry about traffic, you don't have to worry about what clothes you have to wear, you don't have to worry about looking good. You can just do your thing at home. I think it's very cost effective, so I understand why people don't want to go back. And something which you said about your daughter, younger generation, they don't have a purpose. That's so true.
Mm-mm.
That is so
And
true.
because they never had the dynamic of working in a working in any type of company, so they've been on their own. Outside of family, they do not know how to connect. And I'm talking about my 16-year-old daughter. And mind you, my situation is probably, I'm not going to say it's bad, but it's different than most because my daughter has been homeschooled since fourth grade. But I always tried to make sure she was connected to someone.
See, I
And
knew I
so
liked
when
you.
we're talking, I think I excited Aaliyah.
I
Well,
I'm in the same boat with you. I have a 16-year-old, and I spend most of my time talking to my 16-year-old also because he has been homeschooled since second grade. And he just graduated this past summer, and he's completed with high school. Difficult to encourage um, the communication with outside people because he's gotten accustomed to just being with me. He can speak to people, fine, just fine. But that, like you said, that embracing others, communicating with others, being humanized, it's kind of is done. Everything is learned on the phone, on Twitch, on every other platform. Like, I had a lady doing my hair and she was like, the pronouns. And I was like, what's pronouns? And I'm like, I'm thinking English because I'm like, what? And what's going on? And I'm like texting my son and I was like, so what are pronouns? And he was like, oh my, the LGBTQ created their own terms just for them so that they could feel normal in their own environments. You don't have to worry about me. I'm okay.
There you go.
So yeah, this is it's different. But to add on to what Jason said about the buildings and coming back, I think it kind of goes back to the loss and value of those office buildings
Those
and real
properties,
estate.
yes.
If you look at The Banker and that movie and how he was able to buy the building that the bank sat in, it was due to occupancy rates in those
Yep.
buildings and him
Yep.
studying that and how he devalued the building and got it for, a fraction of the cost. And now they've invested tens of millions of dollars into the real estate for, for that purpose. Right now I'm in the financial space as well, and also the things that are coming to pass now is a lot of corporate loans for real estate are about to go bevy up. So uh the banks are not going to enforce the loan. There's a clause in the loan that says they can make the loan come due within a 60-day notice, and none of these people have the ability to have that money for the real estate, so they have to force the occupancy to come back. Otherwise they have the ability for the banks to call their loans.
Yep.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Aliyah, how about you ask a question as well, so that we can begin with it? Yeah.
I was gonna say we're gonna bring this back. We're gonna bring this back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was just getting into the coming into the office space, and they just looking at it as, like you said, a loss of revenue, when it could be a new environment. They could increase
Yeah.
revenue in a different way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So, would there be anything you like to ask specifically about personal branding, Aliyah? Do you have a question related to the topic of conversation? Anything you like to maybe contribute or ask Phyllis
Okay,
directly?
I would say my main question is, um, I have a brand idea, and I've always kind of feared leaning into it because I felt like it didn't align um into my brand. But can you lean into, like, maybe something that you had a negative opinion of and make it part of your brand, and go from that angle as well?
Sweetie, you don't think ghetto country is negative? Do you know how many black folks I pissed off with calling myself ghetto country?
I
That
don't
that
think it's I guess I don't see it as negative
But
though.
see,
I
there are
think
people that do, and that
okay.
is the thing. And this goes back to perception versus your actual image. So owning ghetto country was a long time. It was my secret shame, and I didn't even call it ghetto country back then. But it was my secret shame because I know, regardless of my education, regardless of my knowledge, I sound ghetto and country. I was raised hood adjacent by a country mama. First boyfriend was a drug dealer. First crush was a gang member. I grew up in that environment. And so the vernacular and the language that I use, and like I said, Jason, I was telling you earlier, I've been studying language and understanding the difference between assertive versus aggressive. And I know a lot of people view me as aggressive when actually all I am is assertive. But because I use profanity, they see profanity as a form of aggression. It's not. It's a fucking word. Period. So leaning into something that's truly that you can dedicate yourself to, it does not matter if someone else, as long as you can align it with the business brand that you're building, then you get to own it. Some people are going to be pissed off about it, but that is the great thing about brand. You want the pissed off people because they're going to talk about you more than the people that actually like you. They're the ones that spread. If you ever notice, all of you guys, the stuff that you see most is the shit people complain about. It's the
Kanye.
shit people. It's the shit people complain about. So if you have people complaining about you, then say thank you to those people, because they're the ones that sharing your shit. It's not the people that actually want to support you. They just come spend a little money with you and they go on about their business. But if somebody has something negative to say about you, I had someone when I was doing when Chris Doe interviewed me, and I was reading some of the comments, and one of the women said, black girl or black woman, I'll call her a woman, said, oh, well, she doesn't represent all black women. Bitch, I never said I did. That is not my game. That is not my job. I even had to take that weight off my daughter because I used to tell her, represent well. Because sometimes you're the only black person in the room and everybody will judge every other black person by your presence in the room. So represent well. And I used to say that. But then I'm like, no, I'm not making my daughter carry that weight. You represent yourself the best way you know how. You do not get to carry the weight of the whole fucking black nation on your shoulders as a 16-year-old. And back then, maybe she was 14, 13. That is no longer your job. But you get to represent yourself how you want to be. And for her, my thing that I teach her, it's a matter of respect. And a lot of you, I see you, and I'm not necessarily anyone in this room, but I see you disrespecting your business. And you don't even know what that looks like because you haven't identified the disrespect. But if you're disrespecting your business, and this is where boundaries comes in again, if you're disrespecting it, then trust and believe somebody else is going to do it as well. And you don't recognize it until they do it, but they got it from you. So that's a thing.
Could you give an example of like a business showing disrespect to it?
Um, it's say that again. It's someone showing disrespect to a business or a brand.
Well, showing disrespect to their brand or their business.
Um, one level of disrespect is that you don't talk about your shit. You would rather go out and play an influencer to endorse your shit instead of you learning how to do it, instead of you stepping up and endorsing your business. That's a level of disrespect to your own self. And I'm not saying influencers aren't a thing. I'm not saying they can't spread the word. But if you don't even know how to tell them to spread the word, then you're doing yourself a disservice. You're just hiring them because they have higher numbers than you. But see, they might not be holding your audience. So it's a level of disrespect to go out and think that someone can do a better job of talking about your shit than you can.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sweetheart.
That is incredible, and that was a nice question, Aliyah. Thank you so much. Please continue to be on stage, and we will go as per sequence. Rose, you would be next, not because you asked me that I would like to go next, because you were already on the stage before. So I would like to hand you over the virtual mic. Please go ahead. Would you like to contribute, or would you like to ask a question?
Thank you so much, Jason. Phyllis, it's delightful to listen to you as always. I'm particularly struck by what you talked about Starbucks, because I'm currently boycotting a bunch of brands that have any hand in what's happening in Gaza, like the genocide that's happening there, including Pepsi, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Starbucks, Lace, and others. So I think that's really important to select brands that align with your values, and understand the humanity behind each brand, and understand the power of your the money that you bring to these brands, and me not wanting to participate in anything those brands are doing right now is a really powerful testament. I also wanted to share something. I This morning I was at a meeting with a bunch of career coaches. It was like a mastermind class workshop, and it's funny because everybody was wearing like suits, and I was wearing a cap and like a sweater. And so I felt kind of out of place, but then it's like, no, I was just being me at that moment. I didn't want to like try to fit in or try to like wear a suit, just because like that's what a career coach is supposed to look like, right? So I was thinking like, how do I represent myself in a way that also is true to me, but at the same time attracts a kind of client that would resonate with my image. You know what I'm saying? So I was
Okay.
wondering if you could speak on that.
Okay. The thing about how you go out, and like I said, if you went out in a ball cap and a sweater and all of that kind of thing, is that how you want to represent yourself? And if it is, then sweetie, that the thing we talk about with being consistent, then when you're not in that level of uniform, because your clothes eventually become a uniform. Your style of dress when you're in work mode becomes your uniform. It doesn't have a name badge on it or anything of that nature. My hats, my hats and my glasses and my hoops are part of my uniform when I'm being the ghetto country grandmother. So who's attracted to that? Different people. And it's not usually who you think. You think you're trying to attract same people who want to sit around in sweatpants and drink lattes and all that shit. But the thing about it is that the people who are for you, they don't really care about your dress. They recognize you by it. If you want to be recognized by that look that you carry off so well, then that's a thing. But if you're just out, you know what, I'm just attending this conference, I'm not in rosy mode versus rose mode, then it's a thing. And how you attract the people that you want is you have a conversation. It's not your look, it's the conversation, it's the communication, it's the personality that you bring to it. So it's getting caught up in I see a lot of people talking about their personal brand, and they think their personal brand is more about how they look, about how they dress. When in actuality, if you, like I said, if you have a standard uniform, that's fine. But when you open your mouth, that's where the connection comes from. Because people are going to say, you know what, I need to go talk to her. I think we need to do business together. I get her. It was never about your clothes, it was about the conversation. It was about the communication because you gave them information and they needed more of it. So if you want to attract a certain one, because I know a lot of people are out here chasing down 5 and 6 figure or 6 and 7 figure people because that's who they want to work with. Okay, do you want to match their style or do you want to bring your own to the game? Because the thing about it, you can still attract 7 figures in a cap and a sweater. You let them know I'm checking for you. You know what? I work with 7 figure clients all the time. And how I present myself and how they present themselves, it don't necessarily, you would never think. And so you get to have that
Are you going to eat
conversation.
this?
And so people now, that because your conversation includes you saying I work with 7 figure people, they understand that, oh, she gets me. She knows how I ball. She knows how I roll. And so you get to have that conversation with them. It is not about the sweater. It is not about the cap. It is you putting into communication that I work with coaches and creatives who have shiny object syndrome that do some crazy ass shit and want to rein it in. It is that level of communication because you're constantly identifying them in some shape, form, or fashion that lets them know that you're checking for them. And that's what they care about. But when you try and make the audience so fucking broad that they can't find themselves in it, then they don't give a fuck what you're saying or what you look like. All they care is that you cannot help me because you're doing too damn much. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, but like I totally hear what you're saying. I'm just curious how big of an impact does imaging play a role, like in how you project yourself, like how you dress, and like because that's the first thing people see, like even before you're
You're
able
right.
to speak, right?
You're
Even
right.
people do judge a book by its cover, you know what I
They
mean? So
certainly do.
yeah, so
And the thing about it is, do you really care? Because the thing about because if I was going out and I was doing a public speaking and I put on my hat and my hoops and all of that kind of stuff, how people perceive me is not my problem. I'm not there for you to, you're going to judge me regardless. As soon as I open my mouth, people hear me cuss and they've already judged me. Oh, she an ignorant ass bitch. They've already judged me. So what I look like is not the problem because they've already made the judgment. I can come in suited and booted with all the bling or the Armani suit or whatever. But as soon as my mouth, the perception changes. Give you an example. When I back in my club days, oh yeah, I used to club hard. I was there from sun up to sundown to everything. And there was a one night when I was at this club, and there was this dude standing across on the other side. He looked so fucking delicious. I told my friend I would sop him up with a biscuit. It was everything. He was so good looking. And my friend went over there and she told him to come here. And I started talking to him, and I was lusting with all the 2 eyes that I had. Dude opened his mouth. I put the biscuits back. I washed the plate. I walked off and still, I was done. I have no use for him because when he opened his mouth, just totally turned me off. So people are going to make judgments, and the fact that people care more about you making a judgment based on how I look, how much bling I got on, how big is my diamond, sweetie, that for me at this age, not my problem. And if people want to match that kind of energy, then you're basing something on a facade and not based on the message that you're trying to get out into the world. You're not basing it on the fact that you can actually be of service. And if people are willing to judge you by that, then you're already judging your clients by the way they walked in. You're judging them by, you know what, let me see your labels. You want them to have certain labels on in order to understand if they can afford you or not. One of my brokest brand babies rolled me out my money every month. And I know baby could not afford me on a regular, but he went and found the money every month to pay me. And so it's not who you attract is who you attract. Now, who you say yes to is more important than who you attract, because you get to determine if I want to work with them or not. I get to say yes or no. As long as you can find the way to pay me, because that is not my problem. then how you perceive me or how we're attracted to each other is just the first part of the communication.
And just one last thing I was struck by, you brought up Ice Cube, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and sticking with the people that rolled with
Stuff
you
with
from the
me, yeah.
beginning. I don't think Kanye West got that memo. Just FYI,
I'm Yee.
right?
And mic drop.
So, anyways, thank you guys. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
No
Thank you for
problem,
that,
sweetheart.
Rose. And by the way, Phyllis, I don't know if you noticed, but Rose recently posted a poll, and I wanted to just bring that to everyone's attention. The post was very
Mm-hmm.
interesting. It was a poll, and the question was: are you finding that there are too many people using selfies to grab attention on LinkedIn? Question mark. Agree or disagree? There were 61 votes, out of which 59% agreed to it and 41% disagreed to it. And Rose also commented saying that there's nothing wrong with using relevant pictures to tell a story. Like you said, Phyllis, right? It has
Mm-hmm.
to have context. But I follow
Make it
7
make
women
sense.
who only post selfies with each post, and 7 men who also use this tactic. I wanted to understand, Rose, what were your findings from the poll which you did? What did you realize after engaging and people seeing all those comments?
Yeah, it resonated with a lot of people because it's like kind of turning into Instagram over here, like LinkedIn, and a lot of it is just selfies, just like someone snapping a picture of themselves and putting it with the text, and it doesn't really match. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the picture should resonate with the message that you're trying to project, and not just like a random picture. You know what I mean? So because then the message would be lost. But the other thing that I realize is that it's a lot of these like pretty girls putting on a selfie, and it's are you liking my content for me or for the actual content itself, or are you liking it because I look pretty in a picture? So it's kind of confusing, the message of what are you trying to get here. Are you just trying to get attention, or I mean, the like the message gets lost, I feel in some of these cases, because it's like, are you liking it because you resonate with the message, or you just think, I look good in this picture. So this
Definitely the
is what I was
pictures.
trying to
Yeah.
understand from the LinkedIn community by this poll. But if somebody's constantly posting selfies with every single content, I'm not gonna follow those people anymore. I just decided that's not how I want to use the platform. So
I like that. And that it's not that there's anything wrong with selfies, but if you think how cute you look is more important than the content that you provide,
Selfies are fine,
then there's
Phyllis. Don't dance, but I'm just saying.
something.
Just don't do the dance thing. Go ahead, go
No,
ahead.
it's
I'm
not
so
going to be a dance
sorry.
thing. But yeah, yeah, it's amazing how many people worry more about what's on the outside still, even when it comes to their business, and they want to is what I call being suited and booted. And mind you, I love a good suited and booted dude. Oh my god, fucking sexy as hell. But if I'm looking for you for information and knowledge, I don't care if you got sweatpants and socks on. Let's talk about it because I'm all about a great conversation. As long as you ain't sitting in front of me naked, I'm good. I'm good.
I love that. Thank you so much for that, Phyllis. Okay, so let's actually move to Matt. Okay, I'm so sorry, Matt. It took us a while for us to
I know he
get.
taking forever today, man. He holding me hostage. No, I'm just playing.
Well, look, I appreciate it. This is my first time in Brandma's house, and I'm loving these biscuits. I wrote that 5 different ways before saying it.
I
But
love
anyway,
it, sweetie. Come on.
I got to ask you a question. So,
You can
my
ask me.
problem is I flex so hard on humility that I've become invisible. And, this is a problem at work. This is going to be a problem in the business that I'm setting up. So, how do I let my ego loose if it's not me?
Okay. You were brought. Can I ask you? Were you raised in church?
Of course, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You. Whew.
I don't mind your swearing though. It's okay.
No. That's not even it. Sweetie, I was raised in church too. That's why I get the humility part. That's why I asked that question.
And
And
the other part of that too is early in my career, I was very much the opposite way. You know, I was very, let me take over the world. Let me tell everybody how great I am. I'm an only child, so it should come naturally. But I think there's a difference between letting it out and being a monster.
yes, yeah. And mind you, based on that whole humble thing, stay humble. I think humble is, I no longer choose to make humble a part of my vocabulary. But I can be contrite. I've learned the difference. Because what happens is that people who don't know how to speak up for themselves, or people who are offended by you speaking up for yourself, would tell you that you're being egotistical. And that's what one of the reasons why I think ego got such a bad rap. Having an ego is not a bad thing. It is when you take it over the top and, like you said, you turn into that monster. But if you're trying to unleash and let go of being humble, sweetie, you got to start opening your fucking mouth, period. And the only way you can do that, and like I said, stop making it about you and make it about the brand or the business. And because a lot of us that talk about the whole imposter syndrome, it's not the imposter syndrome, it's that we don't know how to endorse our business. If you're going to endorse it, then you talk about these things that are relevant. And it because you take the focus off of you, especially if you plan to grow and scale. If you're going to stay a business of one, you don't even really need a fucking brand. You just need a personality. But if you plan to grow and scale your business, and you know you want this internal community as well as this external community, then you have to develop enough of an ego to say, you know what, we're good at this. But we're so good. Let me tell you about my client. We're so good. Let me tell you the results of this thing. And you do it in such a way that it's conversational. It's not just you talking at them, you're talking with them. Because you might ask a question, well, what is it that you think we can help with? And what do you think that we can do over here? Well, how have you had this problem? How is this struggle a thing for you? And so because you turn it into a conversation instead of a fucking elevator pitch, then it comes off differently. And you're not flexing. You're actually interested in, how can I help you? Because yes, we do this, this, and this, but how can we do this, this, and this for you? Because we know that all of our clients are not the same. I may offer the same service to everyone, but everyone gets to hit them differently. Going through branded university is a thing, but how branded university hits you is something totally separate. I have a client right now that we started out talking about his personal brand. That was supposed to be our journey. But now I've turned into this person. I have to talk to his staff. I'm doing his onboarding process. And I wish Cass was still here, because I'm going to have to hire her at some point. But there are certain things that you're going to bring to the game that, you know what, this is about you. How is it that we're going to do this thing? Because I know that you know our services are good, but they're only good if you're successful. And my success is your success, or your success is my success. So let's figure out this thing. So the fact that you're taking the ego off of you and putting it onto the brand, which is why I talk about brand ego. When you take it off of you, then it's not about you flexing. This is about you being of service, because you are a service-based business. How am I going to be of service? Okay, you want to ask about this particular thing. So it's not, you don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm not flexing. If you ask me to flex, oh baby, I can flex. But it's not about the flex. It's about, how can I be of service? And as long as you keep bringing it back to, okay, you need me to flex for a minute, because people will try and flex you up anyway. They're going to read your bio. They're going to trot out all your awards. They're going to say you have this level of education. You had this person as a client. They're going to flex for you. It's like, okay, now that we got past all the superficial shit, how can I be of service? Because that's what I'm here for. That's what's most important to me. Does that make sense, Matt?
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. I think that you gave me a lot of things. I'm writing on these little note cards, and I filled up like 3 of them. But no, thank you. Thank you very much. I actually have to run to church now. I'm not even kidding about that. I'm gonna have to say a prayer for your potty mouth.
Yes, you can do that too.
Anyway,
I've been trying to
I'm
rein
gonna
that in for a
LinkedIn
while.
I'm gonna LinkedIn stalk you from now on. So I appreciate your wisdom.
No problem, Matt. You have a great one. And I'm
All right,
serious.
take
Say a
care.
prayer for me. I take all blessings.
I will
Mm-mm.
do. And thank you,
Thank you.
Jason.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Guys who are listening to this conversation, I want to let you know that if you're interested in actually buying Phyllis' book, which we are discussing, please click on the three dots if you're on your mobile phone. Go under event details. You should be able to find links to purchase the book. If you're checking this out on replay, you should have it on the show notes. You can also listen to some of the previous episodes. I think I have queued everything easily. So you can listen to the part 1, the part 2, and the part 3 to get context. We are trying to do this so that more people can get value from our conversation. People who can't afford the book, just listen to the podcast. People who can afford to buy the book and support Phyllis. And we have something else in store. So, Phyllis, we spoke about this. I'm just going through the notes. You're going to be coming up with something called as Calm Down, Clap Back, and Come Back. It's a 3-day
Yeah.
workshop. This is for the people who are willing to spend a little extra. So, I think you said it's about $4.99, $3.99. How much is it?
I think I said $3.99.
$3.99
And
early bird. So, would you mind helping our audience understand what they are going
no
to get
problem,
out of it?
sweetheart.
Go ahead.
For you guys that have my book, my whole framework and process is code, camp, and play. There's a bit more to it when I actually do one-on-one work, but it is code, camp, and play. Code stands for contemplation, objectives, dedication, and ethics. Finding those things within your personal brand is where I start with my clients. The next is how you set up camp. This is communication, audience, marketing, and positioning. Because a personal brand needs to have a positioning statement, or not a positioning statement, but needs to have positioning just like their business brand does. The final part is how you play the game. This is personality, language, archetypes, and yarn. Now, if you don't know what a yarn is how you tell a story. It's an old way of telling a story. It's a classic, and I believe in being a classic. So that's what my process is. But what I've done is I've done a remix on these. So we talk about the comeback. I mean, no, we talk about the calm down first because some of us need to calm the fuck down. It's just a thing. So the way that's remixed is if we're going to calm it down, then we're going to talk about the contemplation. We're going to talk about the audience, the language, and the messaging. Because if those things are not aligned, then there's something missing that you, even if you go through the whole framework, that is not going to work for you. What you contemplated for yourself and for your audience and how you want to connect with them comes across in the language that you use and the message that you put out into the environment. So when you calm down and figure those things out, then you're able to present yourself different. So then once you calm down, then you can do a clap back. So if we're going to do the clap back, then we're going to communicate with the language that comes through an archetype. I'm sorry. That comes through oh god, I got a tickle in my throat. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we've been
But comes
speaking a
through
lot.
an archetype
We've been
on
talking
how
a
you
lot.
position yourself. So how you position a personal brand. So the clapback is all about it's about communication. And the communication language and the archetypes all help you keep that alignment. And then, like I said, it also solidifies your position within the industry, within the market, within the framework of whatever it is that you're doing. And finally, there's the comeback because some of us we've been in business for years, but we're in the capacity of diminishing returns. We're actually losing. We're working harder and still losing money. So, what does the comeback look like? So that is it goes back to communication, but it's the content part of communication, the content that you're putting out there. And then it's based on the objectives of this content that we're going to do this thing. We're going to market it in such a way that is ethical. So your comeback is communication, objectives, marketing, and being ethical about everything that you do. So mixing it up this way is having you look at it differently. It's not everything that is in my framework and in my process, but it's making sure that, you know what, let me get my shit together a little bit or a lot of bit. Because if you don't have any of these things and your personal brand is just out here swaying in the wind, then yeah, you need to come back. You need to calm down, clap back, and come back. And so that's what this is going to look like. And Jason was like, what is it? What is it? It is still being built out, and it comes with worksheets. It comes with like hot seat coaching and all of these kind of things, because I want people to start looking at their personal brand as the asset that it is. It is not you being the brand. That is not what I believe. But it is about you showing up to be the best version of the brand that you represent in order to make the money that you want to make. So I have clients that are afraid to raise their prices, even though they should be at the top of the food chain as far as their services are concerned. Sweetie, put a zero on it. If it's $20, then let's make it 200. If it's 200, let's make it 2,000. Because if you calm down and figure out what you really want, and not just because it's not just about money, but it all starts with money because we're fucking hungry. We're hungry for someone to take notice. But if we get so caught up in, you know what, it's just about the appearance, then we get lost in this shit. So calm down, clap back so you can have a comeback. And especially if you never went out here and figured out how you want your personal brand to show up. That's the end of my speech because I ain't finished flushing it out, Jason.
So,
and if you guys, go ahead.
I was saying that this is for those individuals who have the shiny object syndrome. So please take advantage of it. Like I said, we have things available for people who would be at different stages. So people who just want to get value, who don't want to necessarily invest, can just listen to the podcast episodes, the whole 6 series, and get value from it. They get context from it. People who can afford a bit more can buy the book and support Phyllis. And people who want to go a little bit further can opt into this course, the entry early bird pricing for $399. Now, I just want you to understand, guys, I'm not being profited out of by saying all this stuff. I'm just doing this purely to support Phyllis. And I love what she does. And I truly support her. And I admire her too. The fullest. So that's why I keep having her on the show back and forth again. There's a lot you can learn. I learn a lot every day whenever I speak with Phyllis. So I love her to death and I really admire her. I love Ice Cube too at the same time. So I want to thank each and everybody for listening to this conversation. We're going to have the next episode, part 5. We will dissect and get into the different levels of communication, which is actual engagement, empathy and understanding, consistency and reliability, empowerment and call to action. And we would also try to understand how to bridge the gap between ego and your audience perception. So we will be deep diving into that next week. I would highly encourage you to follow Phyllis and also myself. Whenever you follow us, do click on the bell notification so that you get notified about the next week's event. Stuff like that. You know the drill. You know what you have to do. If you do like the podcast, do follow my podcast on Spotify or Apple or whichever platform you like. I have all the links listed on the show notes. That support would mean a lot. It helps me with my analytics. If you do listen to the episode, please ensure that you're logged into your favorite app while listening, because it does not get registered onto the analytical data. So that means I don't know who you are, where you're listening from, your gender, age group, what kind of topics you like, stuff like that. Those analytics help me to customize and tweak the content which I'm producing on my podcast. So I want to thank you once again. Please have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you're in the world. Please take care of yourself. And thank you, Phyllis, once again for making this show an awesome episode once again.
I got you, sweetie.